Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Shauna. Let's get into this. So, hi guys. Side of it, it's really crazy. I'm looking at how a lot of the energy is going on out there and paying attention to how it's manifesting, right? First of all, the full moon, May 5th, the day of Cinco de Mayo. I do not think that is a coincidence. Let's start there. I do not think that it was a coincidence that Cinco de Mayo was on the day of the full moon, right? Number one. Number two, Mercury is in retrograde. So with all of this stuff going on, let's just think about something. What is retrograde? Retrograde is moving backwards, right? Transiting backwards. So what that means is Mercury is moving backwards. Mercury is communication, all that good stuff, right? How we relate to one another. Look it up, okay? Because that's not what I'm talking about right now. Now think about this. Just put your mind in the idea of energy as we've been speaking, right? So they're saying, expect delays, don't sign any contracts, don't make any, commitments, don't reach out to your ex or go backwards, things like that, right? Because that is the energy that's floating around, and depending on your placements, it could really cause some damage. Not speaking in terms of manifestations or anything like that. We're just speaking of energy right now and how it tends to constantly be moving. Remember, Mercury is the closest to us, the sun, so it gets to travel a little more from where we can see. It goes around 88 days, every 88 days, right? That's how it orbits. That's the transit period, the orbital period. So think about that for a second. I believe April 21st, Mercury retrograde started, and it's going to be going on until the 14th of May, right? Now today is the 11th. 3 more days left. All right, if you're spiritual, certain numbers just have, a ring to it. Now, when I see this, I'm looking at this from, like I said, both perspectives. I can see this from, a political, social, financial, economical perspective, but I'm also looking at this from a spiritual perspective. This is inheritances being sought after at its finest. When you think about the history of the country, and if you want to go a little bit deeper, if you want to think about the history of this land, right? Let's just call America and Mexico one for now, for the sake of conversation, and also for the sake of geographical purposes, right? Because technically you can literally walk from Mexico into America and vice versa. It's the same landmass, right? What do we have? A wall, a bridge, a street separating them? There's places like that in Canada, but that's not, what we're talking about. Let's just kind of stick there, right? So when you think about that, think about history, things moving backwards. And when the energy comes back to propel, it's going to come back with a bunch of different energy, right? It's been through a phase, it's been through a cycle. It's time for a new cycle. Everything going on in the ethers happens up there first, and then it manifests down in the 3D. So this has been in the making, and think about it. None of this is coincidence. Remember, everything is connected. Everything, from the cat walking down the street, the stray cat, to you getting your doctoral degree. It's all related. Trust me. Right? So just follow me. Follow this conversation, right? If you have been spiritually aroused at any point in your life, at this point, depending on where you are in your awakening, you understand exactly what this means and what's going on, whether you're religious, conscious, or spiritual. You can fathom what's happening here in terms of placing this particular energy and being able to relate and apply it to what's happening right now with the title 42. Things are happening in the ethers. Karma is being manifested down, good and bad. The floodgates of heaven have opened, and people are going to receive their blessings, good or bad. Depending on what side you're on, you're going to get, what's coming, especially depending on your placements or just what God said for this particular time. So I think it's really important to, just kind of keep in mind, stay vigilant and conscious of everything that you're doing, especially in a time like Mercury being in retrograde. It seems to be like, people may not take it seriously, but it's literally important, right? This is supposed to be the planet that's considered the messenger of God's communication, language connected to your central nervous system. That's your entire being. How you relate and respond to the world. So just keep that in mind. And remember, we've been discussing how planets have enemies and whatnot. And Gemini and Virgo being ruled by Mercury, they're going to be affected most by, this retrograde. And people who are Taurus, I believe, for this year, for some reason, mainly the fixed signs, the earth signs, and also Leo and Scorpio. So, just think about that for a second. Think about how all of everything that's going on, how it started, and even if you wanted to look back, go backwards and look at the history of everything that's been happening since COVID. Pay attention to everything since COVID, right? January 10th, full moon. February 9th, full moon. This is 2020. March 9th, full moon. At this point, we were already shut down pretty much. Right? Retrograde in 2020 in February and in November. So again, look at how the energies are moving around and causing things to be shifted down in the physical. None of this is coincidence. So I just wanted to discuss this and just further, make the point that the zodiac and horoscope thing is a big deal, and especially with so many different cultures coming together. That is a recipe for healing, but it's also a recipe for warfare on both sides. Okay? This is the beginning of a lot of things happening that are going to be changing that nobody's used to. nobody's going to be used to. This is going to be a bunch of new stuff going on. People getting married, procreating with other cultures at a heightened level. Cultures being blended, learning new languages and new customs. This is going to spark new ideas. Learning, us coming together. This is the beginning of, something possibly really good. I can see the bad. Of course, it's been projected that the educational system is going to be overwhelmed and the law enforcement or judicial system is going to be overwhelmed. We can work through that. This is always going to be an opportunity to learn for everyone involved. Like I said, can see where it can go bad, and I'm expecting, for a lot of things to happen as a result, but it's all going to be a learning experience. Because we have to understand that this land was confiscated by people who are seeking to come here and upgrade their bloodline, break generational cycles, break free from poverty and spiritual and emotional and even physical bondage. So you just have to take into consideration how several generations have been in captivity, enslaved. Not just black people. Yes, I love my people. I'm going to be down for my people all day long. But let's be real here. This is a bigger, picture. There's a bigger picture. We have to start understanding that at some point, the source is going to be connected all to one another. This all relates back to one source, ultimately, and everyone has their own idea and understanding, perception, and belief about what that source is, and that's fine. But as long as you're finding something that works for you, as long as you are not hurting anybody else, as long as your growth is not at the expense of someone else, you should be fine. As long as you're not deliberately hurting people to get ahead, deliberately doing things that you know are wrong to, make some kind of gain, you should be in the clear. As long as your heart and your mind is clear, everything else, you leave it up to the angels and the Most High to fix it and work it out. So I just wanted to make sure, I made this message, and I did this in the middle of doing birth charts and horoscopes. I think mainly the Most High wanted to basically make that connection, obviously, but to also just bring it back around to what we've been talking about all this time. Breaking curses. These are inheritances owed to several bloodlines, us included. You don't just have Mexicans coming through the border. You have people from Nicaragua, Haiti, Guatemala, Ecuador, Salvador, right? So, like I said, there's a bigger picture here, and at some point, we're gonna be connecting, in some kind of way. Why not make it a new positive thing? And remember, like we've been discussing, with all of those people dying, there's so much space right now in the universe for things to be created, new portals to be opened. Why not allow it to be fruitful and, beneficial for all of mankind? And I'll be the one to say first that I have my prejudices and my stereotypings about, people of other cultures, and this is based off of my experience, not off of my upbringing. There's a difference. Some people have been taught to not like other races and cultures. My experiences has allowed me to have a particular perception of people from other cultures. When it comes to spirituality, that's what started all of this to begin with. That's the whole sole purpose why this podcast even started, because I was attacked spiritually, and had been, but it got out of control. And I knew that the Most High was nudging me and telling me it was time to start talking about this. This was a major focal point for me, for my healing, for the beginning, This is where a lot of the healing has started to manifest, because I had begun to understand that the spirit world works totally different from the physical, but it's still connected. And I had to understand my purpose in all of this. And I had to understand who I answer to at the end of the day. I have forgotten that. So I think that's the point. I think somebody needed to hear that. Don't forget about God. He's going to take you wherever he says he's going to take you. But don't forget about God. You're going to go, you're going to get there safely and successfully. But you had to be brought back to get God. You were leaving God behind. You forgot about God. Okay? So I'm going to leave it there. But yeah, just pay attention to retrograde and where the sun is moving right now, and the moon is moving, and Venus is moving, and Jupiter, okay? Because Jupiter is spirituality, finances, education, philosophy, and things like that. So I would definitely say Jupiter, Sun, Moon, Venus are very important. Venus because it also deals with money, love, and things like that. Okay? So yeah, we're gonna go, like I said, we're gonna be going in and out with the birth charts, but we're gonna keep, the different types of conversations moving along. As we phase out, of course, I'll state it and let you guys know what we're moving into next. But we're kind of gonna stick around and go in and out with the horoscopes and the zodiacs. It's gonna pop in and out. I'm sure, especially at this point, because it's so prevalent and so much research has been done, and I want to do more because I'm really seeing how this is all connected and how it's connecting and how it's all right. Love y'all. Peace.